welcome back, everyone. This is episode 16 of Not Another Podcast, brought to you by WebSecure Services. Most businesses don't know what cyber attackers can already see about them. WebSecure gives you that picture first and a clear plan to close those gaps before they're exploited. WebSecure Services helps organizations identify, understand, and reduce cyber exposure risks before attackers exploit them. For all your cybersecurity needs, follow WebSecure Services on LinkedIn and DM for queries. So yeah, we just had to get the church announcements out the way. And how are you feeling today, my dog? What's good?
Feeling good, man. Ready? Yeah, bro. Ready to get back in the cockpit.
Let's get this flight rolling, bro. So hey, today's episode is quite it's quite I don't know what to say, bro, but it's gonna be quite an episode. So hey, it's been quite a what you call this? An interesting 3 weeks or so in East London. And I know what everyone has been thinking, a Niger King crowned eMonti. A whole Niger King. So that headline alone was enough to spark outrage across the country. For many, it sounded like an insult. A foreign national being given royal status on South African soil, in a country where traditional leadership carries deep historical and cultural meaning. But beneath the outrage lies a bigger truth, because this was never really just about a king. It was about what that coronation symbolized to many South Africans: growing frustration over immigration, economic pressure, and the feeling that the country's social fabric is under strain. What may have been intended as a cultural ceremony quickly became something far bigger, a symbol of national anxiety. And this is why the story matters, because the anger we saw wasn't simply about one title. It was about a country already under pressure, and one ceremony that exposed just how deep that pressure runs. So in Igbo communities, titles like Igwe or Eze are often used for community leaders or cultural figureheads, especially in diaspora communities. But in South Africa, the word king carries territorial and constitutional meaning. And this is where the outrage was sparked, because when they announced it on social media and they were advertising on the streets doing their promotion, they were announcing a coronation of a king. And that's where the streets got angry. And that's where things got fucked up. So what did you make of that, bro? Like, WTF?
Yeah, like it was shocking, man. It was shocking, but at the same time, I'd be lying if I said I was surprised because um
Mm-hmm.
as an EL native, bro, we all know that particular part of town and the demographics of it, This has been bubbling since we were kids. From as far back as
Yeah.
I remember, we all knew that particular area pie in Oxford is a hub of illegal immigration and drug
Mm-hmm.
trafficking, and it's been like degenerating for years, man. And this is what you get when you don't take your sovereignty seriously, when the government doesn't take
Mm-hmm.
it seriously, when the government doesn't take border policy and securing that seriously. People
Mm-hmm.
from beyond the borders are going to take advantage. Not everyone's a victim, not everyone's an asylum seeker. There are
Mm-hmm.
drug traffickers, there are human traffickers, there are even people who just simply want to replace your culture, because you
Bro.
if you open your gates wide enough without any conditions, this is what happens. it's
Yeah.
it's it's unfortunately chickens coming home to roost, but at the same time I was glad for the response, because when
Yeah.
you undermine the people who are hospitable enough to you, and then you do something as disrespectful as to undermine their own cultural hegemony and their own cultural leaders, then of course there's going to be
Mhm.
violent pushback. So yeah, man, it was shocking, but at the same time, it's just like one of those big reminders. It's a big wake up call that we're in a very we're at a tipping point as a country. And one of the big issues is the immigration issue, that which has been completely ignored. I mean, our
Mhm.
borders are basically a series of fences, where you can basically just waltz into the country at your own will. So yeah, bro.
Mhm.
It was a massive awakening, bro. I couldn't believe it, but at the same time, I'm
Indeed.
like, are we shocked? Really?
Mhm. Were we shocked? I think it was the announcement that shocked everyone, because this has never happened anywhere in the country before, where foreign nationals had the audacity, if I can put it that way, to announce, even though they say it was a cultural celebration. Like, you announce that you guys are coronating a king, and you are giving this guy the title King of East London, however you guys wanted to put it. So the shock was there as to who the hell do you guys think you are coming to a country like ours as foreign nationals? We don't even know the legitimacy of your immigration status in the country. And you're pulling up and saying that you're announcing yourselves as community leaders of this particular area where you've been living for so long, doing as much as you please, and then not expect like any type of pushback. But what really sparked the outrage to what it was is, from what I heard in the streets, is that apparently, I think the evening of the ceremony, what happened was there was a clashing between locals, right, and some immigrants from the celebration, and then one thing led to another. Things got out of hand, and then a few immigrants stabbed some of the locals, which is what sparked the outrage. Where you saw, yeah, bro,
Yo.
where you saw niggas' cars
I
getting burned, where you saw like the full wrath of Abahlali eMonti take to the streets and demonstrate their frustration violently by breaking into some of these guys' places of business, looting, and they were supported by the March to March movement from KZN, who are also who have also like demonstrated these type of marches in the KZN region. So this is where the entire problem started, when these immigrants pulled up to to Quigley, I think, and then they they crashed out. Oaks crashed out between the immigrants and the locals, and then when people got stabbed, it's when things just got out of hand.
Yeah, bro. Like, you know what it is though. When it comes to the response
Hmm.
itself,
Yeah.
abantu baseMzantsi Africa are tired of being gaslit when it comes to illegal immigration. People are tired of it because every single time there's some kind of incident or any kind of violent reaction from locals in response to illegal immigrants, the opposing answer is always just, "Oh, you guys are xenophobic. You guys have a problem.
Mm,
You're anti-African, etc." And it's like, guys,
mm.
people are tired of being, other than gaslit, people are just tired of being patronized.
Yeah, and
Average South Africans
manipulated.
look around. Yes, average South Africans, they look around and they see exactly what's going on. If you have two eyes and a brain, then you can discern exactly what's going on. And then
Yeah,
when people voice their concerns, and then the only voices that are coming out are telling them that they're the problem, and you
yeah,
completely ignoring the growing, festering issue that's been growing for years now, then of course people are going to be like, okay, well, the government doesn't listen to us. The media
yeah,
doesn't listen to us. We see our communities falling apart. We see these tuck shops that we don't even know whether they're legal or illegal. They're popping up everywhere. Is Lalini, Ekasi. They see the drugs. They see it all. They see their kids falling prey to this stuff. They see it's just like one of those things where South Africans are tired. And whenever there's a violent reaction, they are sort of suppressed with gaslighting. And I think we've gotten to the point where it's so bad that no one can deny it anymore. I don't even hear people calling anyone xenophobic anymore. Not even as much as it used to be, because no one can deny it anymore. It's just that bad that no one can be like, oh, well, fuck, you guys are just xenophobic. No, we all see exactly what's happening. We're seeing the degeneration. We're seeing even the ethnic makeup of this country in different places starting to change. There are places that are starting to reflect different countries that are not even our own in certain pockets of the country, and people are looking around and they're concerned. They're worried because they're like,
seeing that. Yeah,
yeah, they don't see their own people anymore. They don't hear their own people anymore, and it's getting worse. So of course, and then you have this happening where someone from another country has the audacity to come and claim sovereignty in a country that's not even their own, and then you're going to physically assault the locals. What do you think is going to happen? And you know and it may get to a point where things get so much worse and so much more violent, and we don't want it to get there. But when you think about it realistically, when people are ignored for long enough, when unemployment gets worse and worse, and the government corruption facilitates the downfall of this country for more and more time, and then when you have this other growing issue on the side, which is this illegal immigration issue, and people are being ignored and they see things getting worse and falling apart, they only feel like they have one avenue to actually act out. And we don't need and we don't want things to get that bad. What we need is for the government to do its job. It's just as simple as that. You can't
So
function as
just
a country.
before, hmm
Mm.
no,
Now, I
go
was going to
on.
say, yeah, you can't function as a country without effective border policy. You can't function as a country if you're not vetting the people that are coming in and out of your country. If it's a free for all, guess what happens? Drug trafficking, human trafficking, all of these things happen. It happens in South Africa, it happens at the US Mexico border, it happens anywhere where there is this massive influx of people from across the border who are coming in, because where there's no system to vet who's coming in, who's not, you're going to have an influx of crime. It's just as simple as that. So I think South Africans are just tired, bro, and angry.
All in all, they're tired, bro. So just before we zoom out a bit, I just like us to zoom into the king in question, quote
Mm.
unquote, the king in question. So this is Chief Solomon Ogbonna Eziko, right, who was presented with the title Igwe Digbo na Islanda, yes, which roughly translates to Mamela, Mamela, which translates roughly to the leader or king, right, of the Igbo people in East London. And what they say when they try to clarify the situation was that they weren't necessarily making a coronation, right? They weren't necessarily making a coronation, but they were just having a cultural celebration of this is who is going to represent them in East London as their community leader. And who is going to speak to the traditional leadership through the traditional leadership structures of the Eastern Cape. And in this particular instance, this is the region Yamachachab, right? Which is the region Yamachachab that is headed by Nkosi Vululwandle Joe Sandile. Yeah. So this is who's going to represent them to this king, in terms of the Nigerian affairs and this particular community. So this is where the confusion lies, né? And then, but with that being said, we hear that good and well, né? But okay, you guys should have said that from the start, right? But also, why was Unkosi Vululwandle not why did you guys reach out to the king of this particular region of East London first and foremost, right? Which they claim they did, but if you're going to have such a ceremony of this magnitude, right, which has so much significance, the first thing you do, dog, you don't have this type of significance, bro, until you get this guy's response as to okay, he's coming or not, you know? So this is where things got disrespectful from that side. They were not aware of that. And then when people saw what the hell this was about on social media and how they claim is to quote unquote misrepresented, of course you're gonna get a backlash, bro. And what makes it worse is your own people stabbing some of our people because of this disagreement. Bro, you have to expect violence. And it's not that we're condoning any of this, but hey, bro, this is what you get when you piss people off and you push them to the edge, right? So, like with me, bro, I don't feel sorry for these guys first and foremost because that speaks to everything that you've mentioned about. It speaks to everything you've mentioned about in terms of some of the chaos they've caused as a people in this country with drug trafficking, especially the drug trafficking, bro. It's not even they can't even defend that because they know it's true. Nigerians have been responsible for the majority of the drug trafficking, the kidnappings, human trafficking in this country, and just outright lawlessness. And the fact that our own government, it also speaks to the failure of our own government being so lenient, for lack of a better word, in terms of its own immigration laws and policies and not being strict enough. So of course you're gonna get people who motherfucking find their way and just do as they please in their country, and they're gonna come in their masses, bro, because their own country is so fucked up. They're not doing this type of shit in their own country, you know. So this is where the problem is. And what do you think it speaks to in terms of the bigger problem when it comes to xenophobia in this country? Because this is what many people are talking about, that no, South Africans are xenophobic, but hey, bro, we've been fed that lie for so long that we're xenophobic. And how long are you going to keep feeding us? Because there's xenophobia when South Africans do this thing unprovoked. But this was a situation where our sovereignty and the legitimacy of our traditional structures in terms of leadership and of our kingdoms was disrespected. And it got to a point where you guys had to clarify the situation after the fact, you know? So what do you think that all speaks to?
It speaks to the fact that number one, obviously it's the insecure borders, number one. Obviously, that's where it all stems from. But more
Hmm.
importantly, I think it just speaks to the fact that I think as a country we've been far too lenient. I think we drank the Kool-Aid. When you remember when the whole xenophobic attacks were happening, I think it was in the 2010s sometime.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think
That
there
like
was a
late '08,
yeah,
2008, yeah.
yeah. There was a rise in that happening at the time. And I think
Hmm.
everyone got shut down by the xenophobic accusations, you know. So
Mm,
everyone who could actually see the problem growing was
yeah.
sort of shut down with with this like virtue signaling of saying that if you ever have anything to negative to say about immigrants, then you are
Hmm.
xenophobic, and no one wants to be perceived that way. And then at the same time there's that whole
Yeah.
rise of cancel culture where if you say something negative against illegal immigrants, then you are anti-African, or you're self-hating, or people want to be like, oh well, why don't you say anything about the Pakistanis and the Europeans? And it's
Mm,
like, no, don't get it twisted. Sovereignty means that South Africans must come first.
mm,
We want stronger policy around immigration when it applies to everyone who comes from outside. It's not just about Africans. The only reason why we address African illegal immigrants 99% of the time is because who is doing it more often than not? It's the African
exactly.
illegal immigrants. They're the ones who have
Exactly.
influxed this country in the millions. We don't even know how many of them are actually here. And it creates such a massive issue on multiple different fronts. So it's like, I just think the main issue here is that this is simple. This is not even a matter of it makes you racist or it makes you xenophobic or whatever. It's a matter of national security. You can't
Yeah.
function as a country if your borders aren't secure, if you're not vetting, or if you can't account for who's in your country and how many in how many numbers. And just to
Yeah.
touch on what you're referring to about this king's coronation and how he allegedly or he apparently approached the local Khabe king. It's like, here's the
No, no, it's
thing.
about this is what they say. This is what they say
Yes,
that
yes, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is they
that
claim that they did.
that they claim that they approached
Mm,
the Kakabe king and then they hadn't gotten a response and the date was already set. That's
and they did
also
it
a
anyway.
level of, but they you guys did it anyway without
Mm,
his confirmation. So yeah,
exactly,
go
and
on.
it just goes to show that there's that element of undermining South Africans. It's like you feel as if
Definitely.
you can do whatever you want, right? And
Hmm.
it's particularly disrespectful because of the fact that you have been welcomed here. Whether you're here illegally or legally, we don't know, but you've been welcomed here. You fled war in your country. You fled genocide in your country. You a level of poverty that South Africans have never seen, and you have been we have been gracious enough to take you in. And what do? You peddle drugs. You traffic our women. You undermine our traditional leaders. What do you think is going to happen ultimately? Must we now look at you as victims when mobs of people start getting sick and tired and start attacking you? And like you said earlier, these are not things that we want to happen. But when you think about consequences, you can't come into someone's household and disrespect their customs and disrespect their resources and expect there not to be pushback. So it's like, guys, we don't have an Igbo king. We don't have an Igbo king. We don't even have an
Like
Igbo historical makeup in this country. If you want to
mhm.
celebrate your chiefs, go home and do it, bro. Like
Like
we don't
celebrate
have
your chiefs, right?
yeah.
Like celebrate your chiefs, but there's a certain level of respect, you know? Say celebration of welcoming of the community leader. Don't say coronation of a king.
Guavai.
Especially if this is a traditional leader in your community. When we already have set traditions, set leaders, right? Set traditional cultural leaders who've been there for centuries, right? And you are coming as immigrants who have no cultural roots whatsoever, no cultural roots or origins. You were not born in this country. You don't have ancestors who were born in this region of Africa. And then you come down here and decide to do what you want to do and then think people won't give you their time of day, right? So this is the issue here. And speaking about this bigger problem of xenophobia, what do you say again, Gugu, when it comes to the immigrants who are here legally, who are the good Nigerians contributing to our society, you know? Because what do you say to the people who say no, it's not all Nigerians?
Of course it isn't. This conversation isn't about people who are South African citizens. This is not about you. This is not about your Nigerian or your Zimbabwean or whatever it is that you are, that is an ethnic identity that is outside of South Africa, but you
Mm,
have citizenship. This is not about those people. This is about the integrity of the rule of law in this country. This is about
yes.
having a level of respect for the cultural and ethnic history of this country. You know, there we have a set amount of cultures and tribes and languages that have history that stretches back hundreds, if not even thousands of years for a reason. We do not have Igbo history in this country. It's not a part
Mm,
of our cultural identity. It doesn't mean
it's
that you
not,
can't
bro.
be. It doesn't mean that you can't be an Igbo South African. I-ID
Mm,
unayo, ID number unayo, sharp. No one's got beef with you. It's not a problem.
yeah,
But some people would say though that why are fellow Nigerians who are here legally, why are they quiet? That's a valid question. No?
yeah.
Why are the legal Zimbabweans quiet? That's a valid question. But then it's bigger than that. The main issue remains we are flooded with illegal immigration in this country. A number of them are genuine asylum seekers who are fleeing violence and poverty. Of course, we should have a level of accommodation for people who are genuinely fleeing for their lives. But a
Mm-hmm.
huge chunk of it is simply not the case. A huge chunk of it is simply people who are running and who are finding an easy entry into this country. A portion of them
Yeah.
are drug traffickers, a portion of them are human traffickers. Do you understand that there are even terror groups that are operating on this continent as nearby as Mozambique, but we're being told that
Mm,
we are xenophobic for wanting borders. It's like, bro, do you want Al Shabaab here? Is that what we want? When we say that
bruh,
no, no, there's no such thing as borders. Abu Malema talking about, who have been talking about, they want open borders, and I'm like, guys, don't let these
bro.
people lead you astray because these people live in gated communities. UJuJu uhlala
Exactly, bro.
in a flippin' gated community. If he actually ever got his way, it's not him who's gonna suffer.
Mm,
It's you.
bro.
You're the one. You're the
Juju
one
won't be
who's.
there when when
He
when
won't
when when your kids
know.
are being sold drugs to, bro.
No.
Juju won't be
So it
there when your daughters are getting kidnapped, bro.
100%. So it's not about the
Mm,
documented people. It's not about them. Let's not muddy. And I know
mm.
that people like to muddy the waters with it because they want to make it seem as if the problem is
Painting everyone.
xenophobia. Yes. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. The issue here is ipepa unalo iwanyai. No?
Wow.
It's as simple as that.
That's
Do you
that.
have documentation? Why are you here? How long are you staying? No documentation? Stella, please go home. Please return to your country of origin because we don't know why you're here. We can't account for why you're here. We can't prove that
Mm.
the reason that you're saying with your mouth actually is in line with why you're actually here, you know? So,
And can I tell you what, bro? Like, sorry, just to
mm,
interject with what you're saying about we can't account for you as an undocumented immigrant. The other thing is that, bro, to add another layer is that you undocumented oaks aren't paying tax, bro. You're taking money and earning it here, and then you're just sending it to your home countries without paying fuck all up. Yeah, bro.
enjoying state
So
services though.
that's another reason to. Hmm?
No, no, yeah, I'm saying, and they're also enjoying state services while paying no taxes.
Paying absolutely zero tax, and we have to make up for the tax you guys are not paying through us being heavily taxed with our salaries and the VAT and everything, because you motherfuckers are here enjoying this freedom that some of you claim that you help fight. Niyasinyela, you're sorry, but
No,
niyasicela,
no, no, don't even
niyasicela
apologize.
nyana.
But you know what's another angle, bro,
Yeah,
that I
bro.
find particularly egregious,
Mm-hmm.
Chloe. And this one applies
Yeah.
specifically to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, bro, has been under the chokehold of ZANU PF for how long now? How long are
Oh, dude,
Zimbabweans going to run away
for eternity,
from their problems and flood other countries
bro.
with their population? When are you going to put a foot down and fight for your country, guys? Because other
Mm.
countries like Zimbabwe and Nigeria, you guys have places to run to. South Africa has nowhere to go. If South Africa reaches
No way
the
to
edge,
run, dog.
we are stuck between every other country and the sea.
Hmm,
So what are we
bro.
expected to do? And this is why I find it like particularly disrespectful when we're being told that our complaints are coming purely from a place of xenophobia or oppression. It's like,
Hmm,
guys, so you telling us that we must lie down and let our country be flooded with whoever wants to come in, regardless of whether they're here for
bro.
to build a new life or if they're here to sell drugs. Just let everybody in. And if South Africa gets fucked up
Yeah,
irreversibly,
bro.
then it is what it is. It's like, do you understand how like insidious that whole talking point even is? It's like you want us to
Bro.
lie down and let the country fall apart. Let us get flooded. On top of
Mm,
all of our internal problems. You want us to let outside problems pile up on top of our internal problems. That's what you want for us. And this is directed to
then,
the NGOs and all of these people who have a vested interest in bringing refugees, quote unquote, to the country. So it's not even a complicated concept, bro. It's
yeah.
just you can't have a functional society. I don't care who you are or what country you're in, or if you're white, you're black, you're
Mm-hmm.
Indian, Asian. You don't have a functional country without a secure border. Can you have a functional household if you let in anyone? Ngena maphara emnyango. It's like, are you gonna have a functional
Bro.
household? People are gonna get
Hell
killed. Things are
no.
gonna get stolen. People are gonna get raped. Like, what are we talking about?
Hell no.
It's
But yeah,
crazy.
bro, like, can I just, like, with what you said about all these people that have vested interests, like, guys, let's stop the fake moral motivation. You guys want cheap labor, bro.
Yeah.
You know these guys are undocumented, and they're willing to take whatever job because they need the money
Or
to
less.
survive and make a livelihood in this country, and they're gonna take whatever peanuts you pay them, like at the expense of our local workers. So like, let's cut the bullshit. But also, before we wrap up this topic, what do you? So the government recently proposed the white paper of the immigration laws. It's not the final document. The white paper is still like the draft document that is open to critique and feedback from everyone. I think like, if not like parliament and the wider society, which is the citizens. So what do you expect, or what do you hope that those policies and that law in particular, do you hope it aims to achieve?
Hey, bro, hey, maybe this is just me being pessimistic. No, I don't have high hopes, but if I were to talk about what I would like it to entail, I would like for it to address physically securing the South African border, first of all, because that is in shambles completely. I want there to be a level of accommodation for refugees. I, people think that when you speak against immigrants, is that people think that you're completely inhuman and you don't want to help people. It's like, guys, we know that we live on a continent where there's war, there's extreme poverty. We are open to helping those who are in need. So I wanted to have a level of accommodation for actual refugees, but it mustn't be
Hmm.
like a permanent thing where it's like come and squat in this country for eternity. No, there should be some kind
Yeah.
of specific system that accommodates people who are genuinely fleeing war, poverty, etc. Anything else, I think, would just be. I think there also need to be more specific, stricter conditions for immigration. This free for all thing, guys. I know it sounds fluffy and nice on paper. Everyone wants to be kumbaya, and but unfortunately, this is the real world, guys. This is the real world. In the real world, if you give people an in to take advantage of you, they will. If your policies give people a leg to stand on to take advantage of you, they will. If you don't push back and if you don't have checks and balances and conditions under which someone will be able to live in your country, they are going to take advantage because this is about survival at the end of the day. In fact, I'll even go further to say that even if I were in that situation, if I were from another country and there was war or genocide and I had an opportunity, like if I had a loophole, I would take it, which is exactly what's been happening. So I want there to be more checks and balances. I need there to be more specific, strict conditions under which you can immigrate or be a refugee, Because guys, it would be great if we could all just believe that people come fleeing danger with the purest intentions.
Yes,
It
dog.
would be great if that was the case. But unfortunately, guys, this is the real world. People will absolutely exploit any loophole that you leave open. So I'll admit that I'm not as well read on this white paper, but that's what, in a basic sense, that's what I would like addressed. Those specific things. But what about you, bro?
Hey man, everything you said. Unephepha? Yes, ngena. Awunaphepha? Sikhwelele. Cha kwa. Like, that's just about it, bro. Yeah, that's just as simple as that, bro.
All right, bro.
So, I know you mentioned JuJu, and what's funny about this entire conversation, bro, and since we're going to move on with the JuJu, is that all this chaos and mess happened in East London because Uchuchu was sentenced to 5 years in prison for unlawfully firing a rifle during an EFF rally in Mtazana in 2018. My boy. So he had been previously found guilty on multiple charges. Listen to this, bro, including unlawful possession of a firearm, unlawful possession of ammunition, discharging a firearm in a public place, and reckless endangerment. So the court ruled that even if the act was symbolic, firing a weapon in a crowd was dangerous and illegal. And why this is such a big deal? Because it's much bigger than a firearm. Juju is one of the most influential and controversial political figures in the country. And his political brand on militancy, radical rhetoric, and confrontation speaks to this. So, hey, dog, what do you make of this one, Chi?
That
Juju
nigga
was
went.
telling niggas, get the strap.
But before I go on, do you know what the funniest part is?
Yeah.
Uchuchu went and addressed his constituency on some, they
Mhm.
want to take me out because I fired one bullet. Bruh, the
One
footage literally
bullet,
shows him going,
bro.
pow, pow. Like he
Papa.
fired like 4 shots, bro.
Bro.
But anyway, I think look, no one should be above the law, first and foremost. And I can already read the playing field. I've seen a lot of different responses from people. And a lot of people seem to think that they have this perception that Ujojo is just a victim in the situation. It's like, oh no, they want to take him down. It's like, no, wait a minute.
Nah, bro.
Wait.
No, no, no,
Wait.
no, 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 no. Nah,
Performula
my
ning,
nigga. Nah,
zoom
my
out,
nigga.
zoom out. If I ever brought a firearm to a public
Mm,
place and I went like Jay, like for no reason, like in front of a
and it's
crowd.
not your firearm, mind you.
It's not.
It's
It's not
not your
mine.
firearm.
It's not even mine.
Yeah.
If I
Mm.
went to a Greenacres or a boardwalk with a gat, like pamabanu nje, like what do you think? What do you
It's gonna
think is
happen,
going?
bro.
It's like you know. But
Dog.
now what I will say though is because I think it's important to highlight why, specifically why this it was a criminal act. He could have shot someone. If a rogue
Could
if
have
a rogue
shot
bullet
someone, could have killed someone.
exactly if a
Mm.
rogue bullet from that firearm hit a child, what do you think the chat would be right now? If Julius had shot a
Bro.
kid dead, a black child, what do you think the chat would be right now? Would anyone be defending? Dead. So it's like,
Mm.
do I think that he deserves to be locked up for 5 years for doing what he did? No. Do I think that he deserves criminal charges? Of course. What are we talking about? Unless the claim
Yeah.
is there are some politicians that are above the law. If you believe that, then say so. Say so that you can
Yeah.
set the precedent and we know exactly why, what level of thinking you're coming from. But guys, let's not pretend like Uchuchu is some kind of messiah or he's a martyr. Guys, he opened fire in public with a weapon that wasn't even his. What does the law say that we're supposed to? How should the law respond if not with criminal charges? But I think people are just
Yeah.
mostly mad that it was AfriForum who brought the charges.
Yeah, bro. And everyone did not let that shit go, dog. Can I tell you what, bro? Those niggas know how to hold a grudge, bro. This thing happened in 2018, my dog. And they're like, they're not letting this go.
And this is exactly what I was
Not-
gonna say, because the
yeah,
AfriForum have been looking for that one thing. They were like, give us a
bro.
reason, shoot the poor, shoot to kill, give us one reason. Yo, and
Give us
Nuchuchu
one
gave it to
reason,
he
bro.
gift wrapped it to them, bro. I'm sure those dudes were flipping popping bottles when they found that video footage, bro. They were like, "Simple man, they were like,
Bro,
we got it."
bro. Nah, but Uchuchu was he was using that moment to feel like, ooh, Fidel Castro, you know, that communist hero. Because Fidel Castro did that shit back in the day. But hey, bro, it just went wrong. It just went wrong
Terribly,
because even when you even look in that video, bro, it's like he's also scared of shooting the gun because he does it quickly, like pa 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 pa
bruh.
pa, and then he quickly give it back.
But like on a bit more of a serious note though, like I think
Yeah.
the more important thing to talk about here is conduct.
Mm,
How can we, in good conscience as a country, pretend as if this is the standard for our politicians? This person represents an
yeah,
entire political party, bro. Is this
bro.
really what we want the standard to be? Your political leader opens fire with a firearm that's not even his. It doesn't even lawfully belong to him. He opens fire into a crowd in a residential area. If that bullet hit a child, it is routine. If that bullet hit another man or
Bro.
or a woman, what the hell was Julius gonna say? What was he gonna stand in front of his voters and say?
Say your
What is he
son.
gonna say? Golwyn.
But
So like it's the
also,
standard, bro. Like our standards for political leadership are that low that we defend them even when they do objectively terrible things. It's like
but can I just bring, like, just to play devil's advocate now for JuJu, right? So we've seen JuJu getting arrested, not arrested, but convicted for this charge. And he's gonna fight this to the end. He's gonna appeal. He's well within his right to appeal the sentencing. But what does this say about JuJu getting sentenced, right? Getting tried and sentenced in the court of law. But you have ANC leaders, like when we think about the Madlanga Commission, you have ANC leaders who have been implicated in serious crimes, right? And there's all this evidence. We're not forgetting Ramaphosa with the Palapala, right? But nothing has seemingly been done. No one's been called to book in the court of law for this long. So he's going to use that to call out the hypocrisy in all of this. And he's going to use the sentencing as as a rally for his supporters to call out the government, because at the end of the day, yes, he's been tried and sentenced, but you have the Matlanga Commission where people haven't been called to book yet. So what do you think this says about the double standards?
all I'm gonna say is, ain't it funny how quickly the law can actually be followed when there's pressure? But we have an
Yeah,
entire cabinet of politicians who have committed numerous crimes. And yet we have to sit
numerous
there
crimes.
in commissions that take several months, wasting millions of rands. But when one
Yeah,
person commits a crime, it can
from the opposition.
exactly. Due process
Yeah,
is followed at the blink of an eye. It's almost like the rule of law actually can work when people actually take it seriously. It's almost like there's someone
yeah.
blocking the rest of these criminals in parliament from actually facing
Hmm.
jail time. You know,
Hmm.
it's interesting that that Nyani, this is hypocrisy on full display. I'm not Juju's biggest fan, but
Mm.
you're
Yeah,
correct. You're 100% correct. It's deep hypocrisy. Why did it take AfriForum pressing charges for actual criminal charges to be followed like so quickly? In the year what, 2018, you know, it's very
2018, bruh. And
it's
they
very
and they had their foot on the gas and foot on Juju's neck about this thing.
mm,
But
just goes to
Matlanga
show.
Commission, it goes
Mm,
to show. But who do you think stands to gain from Juju's sentencing?
obviously AfriForum, but I mean, come, come on, bro. But
Yeah,
beyond that, I
because
don't know.
all of this is happening like during the like there's the municipal elections happening, and then
Yeah,
I think there's the 2029. There's the whole national elections, right? And should Juju go to jail for like 5 years or so, he's out of the picture. So yeah, what do
yeah.
you think, bro? What's the play?
I don't think that would have been the play because the FF's voter basis has been shrinking anyway. So I don't think
Yeah.
that. But I think the play is AfriForum really wanted to get him. They just really wanted to get him because
Mm.
they've been EFF and AfriForum have been beefing for the longest time. Like
Yeah, bro.
Julius has been
They
pissing
ops
them
for
off for the
real.
longest time. So they were just waiting. They were like, "We're gonna get you. It's fine. We'll wait."
Mm.
And then and then he did the thing. I don't even know how they discovered the footage. I think I remember hearing
Dog.
about this a few years ago, but nothing happened. I think they might have
Yeah,
tried before. I'm not sure, but yeah, I just think that
bruv.
this is just a good win for them. I think this is just
Yeah.
really gonna put some gas in their tank. To be honest, I honestly can't say what the bigger play is because I don't think this is to remove him from the scene in terms of for the elections. I think because the EFF's voter base has been shrinking. Like I think in the last elections they
Yeah.
had their worst turnout in their history. They shrank, in fact, along with the ANC in the last election. So I don't know, bro. But all I know is that AfriForum definitely This a W for them. They've wanted him for a long time, bro. So they're probably
It's a
popping bottles
W
right
for
now.
them,
You know,
yeah.
they're just
They've
motherfuckers. They
been
got him.
popping bottles, bro, this entire
I
week.
think they got him, dog. But at the same time, JuJu was brazen enough to do things like that, thinking that he's above the law, thinking that no one's gonna come after him.
Yeah,
You can't make enemies
yeah,
and do unlawful things and expect someone to not use that against you. It's like, come on, fam. What do you think's gonna happen?
yeah, bro. Exactly. So I think with what you said about every forum winning, right, means Donald Trump wins. Because if you remember when Ramaphosa visited Trump and they were showing him clips of JuJu, yo, they did him dirty, bro, in those clips, though. They showed the most extremist form of JuJu. And there was the question of as to why don't you arrest this guy, right? So that's also a good look for Trump and his belief that there's a genocide that there's a white genocide in South Africa being pushed by Uchuchu, right? So like the entire right wing section of South African politics wins here. But also like in the grand scheme of things, when you think about the municipal elections happening this year, so if Juju is out of the picture, bro, EFF is done, you know? So that means that there are more votes to go for the DA and the ANC. So they definitely have an interest here. But this is Juju's political career on the line, bro. So he's gonna fight this tooth and nail to the very end. He's not gonna let this go, bro. So
Yeah,
it's very interesting, man. And yeah, we just have to sit back and watch this unfold, bro, because this is far from over.
yeah, crazy times. But now I just think that there are bigger problems in this country. Bigger problems. I think
Yeah.
I think Julius should appeal. He's within his rights to do so because I do think that 5 years is too harsh. I don't think he should get off, but I think they
Yeah,
can
don't get all,
afford
yeah.
they can afford to shave some years off. But we have
Yeah.
bigger problems. Let's not also forget that this could be another distraction. Let's not get distracted. Let's remember what's important here. If you know, you know. But I mean, let's not act like this is any real issue. Uchu committed a crime, point blank, period. Now he can appeal for less, fine, but let's not act like he's a victim in this. Let's nah.
You fired shots, bro, when you're not supposed to. And let's remember what Tupac said, everyone. Recollect your thoughts, don't get caught up in the mix, because the media is full of dirty tricks. And this is how we're closing, not another podcast. For this episode, if you stuck around this long, we love you. Please show us love on our social media sites. We're on YouTube. Please subscribe there. Like the shit out of our episodes, guys. Let's grow this thing. And also follow us at Not Another Pod on Instagram, and we'll be back up on TikTok pretty soon, so you can catch us there as well. And yeah, man, this has been another great episode of Not Another Podcast.